Okay, awesome. So we should just be started now. And once again, like we said, we hope you had a good lunch and that you're all full and ready to go. Now the hard part is I have to keep you awake long enough because after you eat and you're filled, you're going to probably fall asleep on me. So we did have a couple of questions that came in prior to lunch. And for anybody who's just joining us new, we just wanted to kind of start on some stuff. Also, Cheryl, you had some questions regarding POs. We'll start there.
Well, I know a lot of times when we put it in, you say it's in inventory. I physically have it. So I was wondering what happens when you order something. Something John said made me think about it. What if I order something and it's not here yet? How do I do it so it's not in inventory, or do I? Anyway, that's kind of what I was wondering.
Sure. And what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you the current tools, and the current tool set that we have actually needs to be modified. We already have a thing that's on our tick list like, ooh, this could really use a little bit more loving, but it currently isn't, and so I'm going to show you the way we do it currently, alrighty? And so basically the question was in POs, as far as like we've created a bunch of these POs and done a bunch of things. And you'll notice right here that these are received order or lives. We've done a whole bunch of different live ones, which are basically like, yes, I do have it in my inventory. The first place I'm going to actually take you is to corp-wide settings, okay? And the reason I'm going to do that is to basically show you that you can name them. We're going to go to settings, we're going to go to corp-wide settings, and we're going to scroll down until we can actually see the part that deals with POs. And I'm scrolling down and we will get to them. Basically what it is there's a bunch of them that are actually named, and so what they're actually physically called, currently it's right in this area, okay? So I changed mine to received order, but by default it was basic live. This one would be basic request by default. Special live, special request. So those are 4 different types of POs. A basic live, this is vendor specific. Only that vendor, that's all I can put underneath it, okay? The other one that we've used is a special live PO. And a special live PO allows you to mix vendors, but it's still live. Like, hey, I've got it, action's happening right now. These other ones, if you don't like the word request, it's basically like quote, order, request. Those are all kind of synonyms, if you will, and so basically we can change it. What would you like me to change this one to for this particular piece?
Pending order.
Great. Watch this. Pending order. And then I'm going to kind of put a AKA, if you will, just so we can kind of refer to it, because this is what it's basically going to be called. A basic request. Okay? Just so that you know what's going on there. So anytime I see a pending order, we're going to now say, that's kind of the request or order status. And you can change this to whatever you want. The reason we're starting here is this cascades through the system. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down and submit this change. Say save. And now I'm going to return. We're going to actually do a PO, and we're going to put it on order status. Okay? Now, the same things happen. You can start from the vendor or from the PO portion. Do you have a preference of where you'd like me to start?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Anyway.
Let's
go from the vendor.
From the vendor?
Yeah, let's go from the vendor.
Okay, so you can technically click on vendor and go there. It's the exact same thing as going here and doing vendor. Does that make sense how it would both search the same place? I would highly recommend, if you can get used to using this quick search, I'm going to point you in this direction. This is the fastest way to do it, okay? Vendor. Now, is this a new vendor or an existing vendor? And maybe we're just doing an order. We're going to create this order request.
Either way, what would be the best? I don't know.
Okay, so
I know we have specialty bottle already there.
Okay, so this is a different one that we had done from a different training spot. And so Cheryl remembered that we actually had a vendor called Specialty Bottle. So I'm just going to go VOT. I'm going to see what I have under the vendors. And I'm going to hit go. And basically, it'll go out and search for me. Specialty Bottle Company. I can immediately say, hey, what did I have recent to these things if I wanted to look? That's a very, very handy tool. or I can say create a new PO. Okay? What we're going to do is we're going to create a new PO. Now, underneath this, by default, you'll see that it kind of went to this received order or my basic live status. All I have to do is flip that to my pending order that we just barely changed. Okay? The reason that we went to corp-wide settings first is you can see how it's kind of starting to already track us around as far as where we're at. As soon as I say basic request, it's still vendor specific. Okay? The other one would be that special request. You probably want to change the number there, so instead of pending order, it's like pending order, ultra vendors, you know, who knows. Okay, just playing with an order, okay? And basically we're going to come down here. Now you have a bunch of chances. If you actually change this to yes now, it would actually squawk at you. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. You can't do that because you're in a pending order, okay? So technically you would leave this as no. And if you knew a specific amount, you could enter that in. Sometimes you don't know that amount, okay? So at this point, I would actually say add PO, and it's very important that you see that we're actually not changing that to yes. It still is on the no category. Okay, we'll say add the PO, and if you tried it the other way, it would squawk at you, just so you know. So we get a PO just like this. We also kind of get into this nice little form. It's a little bit simpler, okay? And then the other piece that's going to end up happening is down here, instead of saying an actual quantity, we're going to be dealing with request quantities, okay? So technically it stores it in a different container because it's like, whoa, 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 this isn't live. Don't really shove this into the pipe yet, okay? So we know that you have some bottles in here for this particular company. Let's see what we got. We have 2 different bottles. Which ones would you like to order?
Let's do the 4 ounce this time.
Okay, so down here, 4 ounce amber bottle. We're going to click on add as basic line item. Now you'll notice that the received quantity is grayed out. I can't use that, but it's now opened the other one. It's like, okay, what did you want? It also tells you a little note, does not affect, okay? Does not affect the counts. So how many are we ordering of these?
100.
100, no problem. Is there any cost change? Or is it still 35 cents?
No, let's say it's 50 now.
It's 50 cents? No problem. Just so you know, this is very important to know inside of Adilas. As costs change, we have to physically monitor that because that actually comes back to accounting. What's owed, what went out, what do I need to do here? We have some other cool features that are going to be coming. Standard traditional accounting, they say, you know what, just average everything, or LIFO and FIFO, which is first in, first out, last in, last out type of thing. What Adilas does is it's called a stepped actual. So what it is we physically record it as it is. And then if we need to adjust or correct those costs, we're actually going to create a little tool that will go in and be like, let me help you fix this perfectly so you can actually get to the penny on what needs to happen. One of the problems with an average cost, some people are, hey, just run it through average. If you, say you had a cost of $10, okay, and then something happened and you actually entered one for a 0 cost and you were just playing and you didn't know that this was a live field, well, guess what? That totally screws up your average right there. 1 0 can screw that up incredibly. Imagine if you have a couple or if it's a bigger cost. Like, it's actually kind of scary. So we do not use average cost. We can potentially show it in some of the reports, but we don't use an average costing. It is a stepped actual cost. Okay? So we went 100 at 50, amber, boom. And we'll just say add the line item. Okay? So at this point, we have a problem. We know that we're off a little bit, but we're just building this. Did you want to add any more items?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do 50 of the 1 ounce.
Okay, great. Okay, so there's my 1 ounce, and I'll say add it basic as those. 50 again?
Yeah, let's do 50.
Okay, and currently that's showing a cost of $1. Are you okay with that?
Let's go 75.
Okay, so that went down. And we'll say add the item. So at this point, we have 2 line items, and you'll notice that it is under the request quantity, and then we basically say, hey, I'm expecting 150 of these. Okay? I need to fix my main. It says that I'm out. Is there anything else that you would like to add to this particular order? Okay, perfect. We're going to go up to Edit Main, and we're going to just kind of fix that. You'll notice it's still under Pending, and it's still under No, I do not have them. Okay, we're just going to fix this little price field. $87.50. And we'll say edit the PO. At this point, it's very happy. It's totally content. And it now is going to start its journey, if that makes sense. Okay? So inside the system, technically it exists, but it doesn't tie this to inventory. So if I were to actually go to my 1 ounce amber bottle and actually check for its quantity, it's currently say I have 104 of these things. Okay? Which I could basically go back in and see where it's at, but it does not count that new 50 at all, because that's technically in a request quantity. It's not live yet. So what happens is as time goes on, it just kind of happens, and then when it comes back, then you're virtually able to go and use that again. Okay? You want to see how that works?
Yeah, so let's say I got my order.
Okay, perfect. So you're doing something, and all of a sudden the mail comes, and the UPS guy shows up with your package. Okay? You're not going to be on the PO homepage. Or you may have even done 50 other POs since that time, okay? So what you're probably going to need to do is going to go to the PO homepage. You're going to look for it. If it pulls it up, great. If not, you're going to have to search for it because it may be buried. You may have ordered this thing and it may have taken a month or two for it, okay? You have to realize real things keep going on, and it's not like, oh, wow, cool, I have it right here in front of me. So here's what we're going to kind of do. We can do one of two things. If I wanted to, I could go vendor, and I could search by vendor and then say what are the recent POs. That's a possibility. Or I could actually go to POs and say only pull this vendor between this date range. Which way would you like to go?
Second option. Yeah,
second option? Okay. So basically that second option was we're going to go to the PO homepage. We're going to look. Here it is right here. Like it happens to be on the top, but pretend that it's not, okay? As a matter of fact, I'm going to make it so it's not on the top anymore. I'm going to just kind of like say, let's spread this out a little bit. It'll still be on the top because it's still right there.
Yeah.
Basically, what ends up happening is if you want to search it a little bit more, you could actually go like this. I'm going to add just a little bit of vendor criteria, and I do want to shrink this back down to, that's about a month. That's perfect. If there's a certain type, I can even say, you know what, I only want to see my pending orders for that company in that date range. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Search. Boop. So all of a sudden, it's much easier to read that type of a result. At this point, this little flag right here is saying this flag shows non-received POs are still outstanding. Okay? So it's a different one. Instead of an unhappy face, it's basically saying order status, pending. Okay? Something to that effect. So basically what we would do here in order to receive this is we would click on edit. And this is very similar to what we've had in the past. The one thing that it adds is it actually says right here, instructions for going live. Okay? To change this PO into a live PO, click the Edit Main link and change the PO type and PO received status. So two pieces, okay? Which is not a big deal. We'll basically turn it to live and we'll turn it to received, okay? A new link will appear right here that allows you to bulk flip the quantities and move it to go live, okay? Because you may not have gotten everything that you ordered. And so this is kind of what's happening. So if I wanted to, I could click on this Edit Main, or the normal one where it normally is right up here, okay? You click on Edit Main, and we're now going to say, hey, guess what? I'm no longer pending. I'm real. I am live. And then the other piece that it said to change was yes, my PO received status, okay? Now, if this had a different date, say this was way back 3/1, ideally you would put in the new date. Hey, it's 3/27, okay? That's important because that's actually when your inventory shows up for, it's when it shows up for like your payables and for your inventory count. So the date, we've been playing with live, and so it's just kind of been go, 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 go. What happens as soon as it's on order, you technically could have a disconnect between your dates because it may not have been there right then. And so this date, all this date is when it kind of started. It's very general, okay? This particular date right here, it's very important that you know that this is the primary inventory date and the payables date. Like, when do I physically show up as a, oh my goodness, I owe the specialty bottling company, okay? So I made the changes. I changed it to basic live, and I said yes, and then I hit edit PO. At this point, it now is saying, hey, cool, I'm in a basic live status, okay? And if I come down, I actually have a couple little links. Here's where it kind of said, hey, what do we want to do? Do we want to do this bulk flip or do we want to do this? You'll notice now, as soon as this is live, what it has is it says quantity zero, quantity zero. It says check math, like everything is wrong. What happened?
Oh, so it didn't bring in what I ordered. It wants me to make sure that I actually got
It wants you to tell it what's going on.
Okay.
Now, you can do it on a line-by-line basis. I'm going to show you two different ways to do this, okay?
Okay.
The easiest way is literally this bulk flip, okay? This is the easiest way. If you wanted to do it line by line, if you click edit, what ends up happening is it says, I requested 100 of these guys. What did I actually get? See how both fields are open?
Yeah.
You can technically monitor that. And you can update any sort of pricing, checking, whatever, okay?
So if I left it, I could still leave the request number.
Oh yeah, yeah. That doesn't hurt anything unless you're specifically looking things up or whatever.
Okay.
That's just it's a number. It played its purpose for the time, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay. Basically, just to show you on a one-by-one basis, say I got a full 100. Okay. I would say edit the line item. And then basically what ends up happening is now it says, hey, I actually have 100 actual, okay? But that's on a line-by-line basis. We basically went edit, and we physically updated either the request or live quantity, okay? The other way you can do it is the thing that's called the receive bulk flip, okay? And so what this does is it says, hey, like if you just have one or two lines, it might be just as easy to go, click, I got this many, click, like it doesn't take that long. But if you have 10 or 100 or whatever, you might be like, let's power play. So here's what the power play thing looks like. You click it, you don't even get that link until it's actually flipped to a live. There's a little checkbox here, and say this was already at 0. Like I'm just pretending for a second that this was still 0.
Okay.
If I actually click this guy, what it does is it takes every physical quantity and it'll flip it over to this received portion, okay? As is. So if I click it, click, whatever these quantities were, it flips it over to that page. And then if something's wrong, you're like, oh, actually I only got 48 of those, you could change it on the one-by-one. But that is how you do the power flip, and you can even change some of your cost. Now you'll notice you don't get to change an individual cost, you're actually dealing with extended.
Oh, okay.
So why would that be important? It kind of throws some people sometimes. I'm just kind of
It
curious.
didn't change how much they were per item, just the total changed because you got less items.
Okay, so what ends up happening is if you literally have a PO, you're going to physically have a dollar thing. So if they gave you a discount rather than like, man, how much did they take off each one or how much this? You say, I have 48 and it ended up being exactly, say it was $40 here, okay, which is going to end up changing this cost reflectively. It's going to do the math for you. So instead of being like, how much is that per? Because you might be selling it per and you might have bought it in a bundle. So
Yeah.
the reason that we go to extended cost is basically we're going to help you with the math here, okay?
I like it.
So we're going to say 48 and say I actually got 48 for $40. So it was a little bit more. That's going to jump that cost up a little bit. As soon as I say update, here it goes. Click. I'm back on the line items page. Now if I scroll down, I bounce some things out.
Oh, okay.
And this one, it happened to say, wow, we went up to 83.333. There's probably some rounding error in there in order to get it to these perfect numbers.
Okay.
It helps you do that math so that you're not like click, 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 click type thing, okay? In the background, it's still sitting very happy and pretty, and you're still able to sell these pieces for whatever your physical sell price, $295, okay? But in the background, what's actually happening is if I actually come down here and look, our cost changed slightly. Because costs are changing, you also have a way to check that and like what happens. Okay, so this is behind the scenes, just some things that are kind of being recorded, and it's basically saying, hey, 219, we added this item. 327, a whole month later, plus a little bit, we changed some cost and check out this PO. Oh, just so you know, just now, we just retweaked it again. And there's other places that it shows up, but it's going to start showing you this history. This is all tracked behind the scenes. Okay, so I'm just going to hit back one more time. We were on the PO, and basically I just drilled down to the item. Okay, any questions right now at this point? We have a disconnect still. We basically went to $90 instead of $87.50. So we would just do a quick edit main and update that little piece. You'll hear edit main 50 million times, and pretty soon you'll be like, I guess that I better edit the main. Basically what it does is it just kind of cleans it up, and it allows the printable option. It cleans this up. It takes out any amount remaining, whatever. So at this point, we actually went from order status clear into live. And that's the current way it's set up, okay? I'm going to actually kind of break this model and say we need a little bit more, okay? And you might be like, what do you need more? Don't worry, we're going to add it in there. But basically what it is what happens if you ordered it and then you even paid for it, but you don't really have it yet. The system is like, how do I keep track of this? Like, we just need one more little piece in there, and so don't worry, we're on it. But I just wanted to let you know that if you basically what happens there is, imagine if you're playing golf, okay? You basically, if you start paying for things before you have them, you create these virtual assets. It's almost like, hey, I have this inventory that's in transit. It might be in a truck somewhere, but I've already paid for it, so technically it's my asset. So it goes clear to the balance sheet level. So we know that there's a known little hole in there, and so we're going to be working on that. But just for an FYI on that, if you order something and you prepay it before you actually physically receive it, temporarily it's kind of like it loses itself, and it's just a mapping issue. So we will get that fixed. So, any other questions? That was a great.
No, that was great. Thank you.
Great little demo on how to use a request PO. Some people will actually use a request PO, and then you can actually go and search like, hey, what do I have ordered? What do I have this? What do I have this? And it's a great way to kind of check it out. Should we make an order, and I can show you how you can kind of check what do I have on order? Sure. Okay. So we're going to do the very, very similar things. We're going to, this time, why don't we do, I like candy. If you're okay, I'm going to switch back to candy, okay? So under vendor, we're in the middle of the PO right now. It doesn't even matter, okay? I love the quick search, and this is the fastest thing you can do. So right here, I know that I have a vendor called ourselves, name of the company. So technically this would be whatever you want. I'm going to say create a new PO. It's going to remember that the last one that I did was a basic request, okay? I'm going to come down here. Order some hot tamales. And I'm going to come down. I don't have them in my possession, but I'm going to get $100 worth of these things, okay? I'm going to say add the PO. It comes in here, and it's basically saying, hey, you're still in the request mode. And remember, this is our corp-wide setting. That's what we named it. And I'm going to kind of come in here, and I'm going to say, hey, what do I have? Do I have any hot tamales? Oh, I do. Sweet. Add them. They're currently at 45 cents a piece, and I wanted $100 worth, so I'm going to just fake it. How many would that be? I'm not worried. I'll just put 100, and we'll adjust the math. So we ordered 100 of these little things, of these little hot tamales, okay? I'm going to really quick edit the main again so that I can update it. And the reason that we break that connection is we have no clue if you're actually going to be what you're doing with it. Once you create it, it's technically already in the database. And so instead of just like automatically updating and updating and updating, well, what if you actually had 100 line items and you're building this order and you have no clue what it is? Rather than making all these trips back and forth into the database, we're like, I'm going to just bail out, and I'm going to allow you to reconnect when you're ready. If I was going to show you a graphic of that, this is kind of what we do it, okay? In a real-life scenario, or if you could control everything, everything would run in parallel. It'd be perfect. In real life, sometimes you have to start, you have to kind of diverge, and you might diverge here, and then eventually you get it back together. So that's kind of what we're trying to do there. Okay, so I have ordered some hot tamales right now. I'm going to fix my edit main is good. I can print it. I can do anything I want. If I wanted to see what do I have that's still on order, I could click here, PO homepage. We're now going to go into a thing that we can call the advanced PO search, because I'm actually going to physically look for line items. I don't want main POs. If I search main POs, I would just get total dollar amounts. Hey, you have X dollars of amounts that you've ordered from here and X dollars from here, but it doesn't tell me the items. Does that make sense? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say advanced PO search. There's technically, I'm going to orient you to this page, okay? There's two basic sections. Search the main. Then the next big giant blue bar, and you can see that it has its own search button, search the line items. And so you can filter the main and then search the line items. There's technically two separate reports that are on this page. If I mouse over this particular one right here, there's a thing down here. This is called my status bar, and hopefully you can see it on the screen. But as I mouse over it, look at what it says. It's going to go Advanced PO Search Results. Okay. If I scroll down over this little button, in that same spot, Advanced PO Line Results. Okay. So it's technically going to two separate little pages. So what I would do, long story short, I'd scroll down to the line item section. I'd say, hey, you know what? I just want my pending orders. And then I can even just say search, and it'll tell me everything that I have in pending. Okay? I actually have some other things besides just my hot tamales. Okay? So here's my hot tamales that I have, and I currently have a request total of 45 of those that are requested. Okay? These are some other POs that are clear back from different dates. 11s, 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 whatever. And if they end up getting in your way and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't want that in there, you can technically go in and just either void them or move them to a different status or whatever you need to do. Or if you just wanted to filter it even smaller, watch this right here. I'm going to hit back, or I can hit refine search. It doesn't make a bit of difference. I'm still in this section. What if I actually came up here and I said, you know what, I just want to see the ones that are for this vendor. This vendor, pending, go get it. Hot tamales, 45 of them. So my request quantity is 100. Okay, does that make sense? How I could kind of easily check to see what I have on order? It's really that easy as far as how it works. But any other questions or comments or anything? Perfect.